My wife cheated and had affairs with another. I was a young driver of a truck Route 100. I worked in a market, carried the goods and supplied to other cities' markets. It was my routinely work. At the route, a fine pretty slim lady was met me at Tamble Nebelier in 2020. Soon we fell in love and soon got engaged. We both made promises to never leave each other no matter how circumstances arise. I loved her very much and she also does the same. Wherever I go, she used to check up by sending messages, calling and asking if I drive safe and to check my whereabouts so that I'm fine. From time to time she promised to be with me for the rest of her entire life. All I could do was to accept her as my better half. It was romantic, perfumed with pure joy and rhythm of happiness, blossoming our love that glows every day. Caring was our first priority. Yes, we did care for each other well. Whenever I need her help, she being always there to provide whatever I needed. Soon after, in 2021, she bravely came to my home to spend her entire life with me. That was when I thought she made a right choice to be my queen for the entire life, so I welcomed her with wholeheartedly and warmly. Introduced her to my family members. My relatives were happy because she just matched me, and also she came from a good family background. After a couple of days passed by, I shared some encouraging pieces to her to be a wife material no matter what happens. Telling her that our young days of being young, wild and free has just ended soon after we got married. As a proud husband, I will play my role as a fatherly figure, though we haven't bored any child yet. Knowing that you're my better half at home. I will provide food, shelter and household staff as we move on in our future endeavors. As a driver, I will be out for work at 5:30 a.m. and will be back at 7 p.m. Sometimes, due to passengers, it would likely for me coming home late or overnight away from home. Honey, now it's you gonna take full responsibility and authority as a wife and play your role to cater for the beautiful home that we dwell. Check to see that your sisters-in-laws are doing fine with their kids. Help them if they need your assistance. Care for the kids if they need to be looked after. Always humble and loyal to everyone to gain your dignity. Give them the beautiful smiles and greet them with warm love. Of course you are the part of the family now. It's all you can do to gain womanhood. Weeks passed, months counted. After 5 months of our marriage life, slowly a bit of slight changes were noticed how she acted out. Noticing that something might happen, but I kept silent. Never argue nor quell over her. To be a mature man, I didn't complain about minor issues. Sometimes when her phone rings, she used to engage the calls when I was present. When she noticed text messages, she used to read them secretly and delete them. Keeping her conversations confidentially. I never argue over simple phone conversations that my wife affiliated with. Having faith that one fine day we'll find out what was going on and being mute over, pretending as if everything is well okay. One day I was diagnosed with malaria. It took almost a week but survived through medication. Things started changing. From that moment when I was sick, she had to look for her wontons and friends. She usually comes home in the late afternoons instead of paying closer attention to me when I was sick. One morning she left, saying that she will be visiting her parents. By that same day her parents called me to pay a visit to, at their residential area for a special dinner and overnight there. Though I didn't recover well, called my beautiful wife to wait for me to catch a PMV together, but already left for Kim Town. I never minded calling her again but had caught a PMV and headed to my in-laws' home. Thinking that my wife was already there, but never. There they were. My in-laws slaughtered 2 live chickens and were preparing the dinner, thinking that we both, couple, would arrive, but never, except I myself turned up. The father called his daughter's cell phone. Phone rings but she did not attend. Call never answered. Mother called but also no answer. No one seemed to answer the calls. Finally I called and her phone went off. All our attempts to reach her had failed. I knew it was something wrong but I pretended, saying that she might be at home and didn't charge her phone. In the early hours next morning, I said goodbye to my in-laws and caught a PMV bus and bound for home. I thought she was at home but she was not at home. I called her. She picked up the phone. Hello? She was there answering. Honey, come home please, I've got a message for you to relay to your parents. She replied saying that her dad had sent her to town to buy a bag of rice for the family, without realizing that I was overnight with her parents, even she wasn't there last night. I insisted her to come home before she leaves. While she was on her way, I gathered all my relatives, my elder brother and my sisters, saying that I was quite suspicious of my wife flirting with someone and yet keeps myself low and mute over it. Once she arrived, I humbly asked her where she was last night. She replied, I was with my parents and they sent me to buy a 20 kilograms bale of rice to cater for the family. Without knowing that I was the one with her family last night. Again I questioned her. Where were you when your father and mum called last night? Influx of countless messages gone but not reply. She then got up and said she overnight with her aunt. But her aunt denied that she was lying. I insisted her harshly to admit the fact where she was last night. Her strength melted, her heart beats faster than normal. With sweats all over, she admitted that she had overnight with one of her boyfriend having affairs. He was one of a male nurse in Kim General Hospital and also from Western Highlands province. That very moment my anger built up. My temper overwhelmed me, thinking of vomiting it upon her for committing adultery. But swallowed the guts of the burning anger, slowly walked towards her, shook her hand and said thank you very much for saving me and telling the truth. Even she was very filthy without having a bath in the morning from her overnight affairs. I was brave enough to make a wise, humble decision, stood firm for what is right and just, got up and shook hands with my wife and said, my lovely wife, I've told you every good things about real facts of marriage life. You've done what is best for you. I am humbled. I did what was best by providing food, gave you money to start an informal market for your personal needs, but yet you use those money for other purposes. I had provided little to cater for our young marriage life for almost 5 months now, but it seems nothing to you. I'm sorry, please forgive me if I had done something wrong that triggered you to go out partying. I never lay any of my hands over you nor slap you, neither bash you up from our past months that we were together that triggered you to go, it was your own will. Our journey is too young, without boring a child, without experiencing what marriage life is all about. So now you've made your decision, you've made your choice to choose whom to be with you. Because I am a driver and do not have much money, you preferred your boyfriend who is a government servant. Your well-being and rights reserved are being served forthwith rightfully to be with him, so you may leave in peace. For you to come back will never be tolerated. Go and never look back. Few days later, both my relatives, the lady's family and her one-night stand partner, all had a mediation. Every actions of those two perpetrators of causing adultery has confirmed by themselves admitting it, and I got up and said, now I am humbled. I have a clear conscience that it was not the perpetrator's fault even though it was adultery. My understanding states that it is the lady who had instigated all these. No matter how hard I feel, I have to let go what is not meant for me. Having said that, later on I became the best buddy of the man who caused adultery to my wife. The behavior of let go of what could affect my entire life and forgiving their guilt was the best ever decision that I made. Moral of this real story is: a real man never hurts a woman. Never attacks a woman. Never argue for small issues. Digest the burning anger. Never hold on to things that is not meant for you. You'll never be good enough for the wrong people regardless of how hard you try to make them understand you. Be bold and move on. Time doesn't wait for anybody. You deserve better and need people who think you are good enough just the way you are. Instead, find a move on. One day they will realize how worth you are when you shine above the storms. You can tell me in comments if I was right or wrong at my side.